Peace and love. Peace and love. Shabbat shalom. Peace and love. I'm gonna be reading from. Well, I'm gonna be catching up. I missed out yesterday. I was too busy in the world. Y'all forgive me. I was too busy catching up on things in the world, but I found myself behind in my readings. So we're going to pick up where I should have covered yesterday, which is the book of Psalms, chapter 19 through 21. And the book of Proverbs, we're just going to cover the book of Proverbs chapter 13 and the book of Ecclesiastes. We're going to do Ecclesiastes chapter Ecclesiastes. We're on chapter 2. So yeah, bear with me as I try to get through this, y'all willing? Cause I gotta get through this, and then I'm gonna go off and come back on and cover the book of Genesis. So the book of Psalms, chapter 19. Verse 1. The heavens are proclaiming the esteem of El, and the expanse is declaring the work of his hands. The expanse is what, scientists like to call. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 19. By the way, the book of Psalms, chapter 19. We're going to read from 19 to chapter 21, and then we're going to read the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, and then the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2. But the expansion is what most scientists, refer to as the universe, the galaxy, and all that. The heavens, that's the work of the Most High's hands. So we clearly see this, in scriptures. It says in the book of Psalms, chapter 19, verse 1, the heavens are proclaiming the esteem of El. Like, you can look in the sky and see that the Most High exists. None of us has anything to do with that sky. We can't grasp any of the stars in it. We can't grasp the moon, though, people claim to have gone to the. We can't do nothing with the sky. We can't do nothing with what's in the sky. We can't grasp the clouds. We can't grasp the sun. We can't grasp the moon. We can't grasp the stars. So this is evidence of our Creator. When we look to the sky and see things that are, that are greater than us. It says the heavens, meaning the sky, are proclaiming the esteem of El, meaning the glory of God. It's proclaiming the glory of God because of everything that exists in the sky, the marvelous things that we see. And the expanse is declaring the work of his hands. The expanse is declaring the work of his hands. The expanse of the sky is showing how, how awesome and, how his work is just beyond our understanding. His work is beyond our reach. And we just got to humble ourselves and accept that. Verse verse 2. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. Verse 3. There is no speech and there are no words. Their voice is not heard. Oh yeah, this is one of the most interesting verses in the Bible. And people don't even dig that it's revealing, you know, the messengers, you know, his messengers and the work of his messengers in this verse. This is the book of Psalms chapter 19. You know, just keep in context what I'm reading. It says, the heavens are proclaiming the esteem of El, the glory of God. The heavens is the sky is proclaiming the glory of God. And the expanse is declaring the work of his hands. Verse 2, day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. Night to night is revealing knowledge. Day to day it's pouring out speech. So understand this is spirit. These are the messengers, the spiritual beings working at work. And as I read, you're going to see that. Verse 3, there is no speech and there are no words. Their voice is not heard. So their voice we can't hear. The voices of the spiritual realm we can't hear. This is what this is explaining to us. There is no speech and there are no words. Their voice is not heard. Verse 4, their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he set up a tent for the sun. So I believe from verse 1 to verse 4, David is describing the spirit beings, the messengers, what people know as angels. And this is what's being described in chapter 19 of Psalms from 1 to 4 is the workings of the spirit beings that dwell in the sky, that dwell in the heavens, that work for the Most High, his messengers. Verse 15. I'm sorry. Verse 5. And it is like a bridegroom coming out of his room. It rejoices like a strong man to run the path. Verse 6. Its rising is from one end of the heavens and its circuit to the other end, and nothing is hidden from its heat. This is describing the sun and the rotation of the sun. How it doesn't explain it as a rotating, you know, as us rotating. Is explaining it how the sun is moving itself. I know we were taught that we rotate around the sun, but this is explaining how the sun is moving. The scriptures, the way the scriptures understand the sun and its movement is that the sun actually moves on its own. It has its own movement. You know what I mean? Verse 6, its rising is from one end of the heavens and its circuit to the other end. So it's a light that goes back and forth, the greatest light ever invented, going back and forth. And that's what the Bible describes the sun as, being a great light that rules the day, and the moon as a lesser light that rules the night. And nothing is hidden from its heat. Verse 7, the Torah of Yahuwah is perfect, bringing back the being. So this is another, 19 is one of my favorite Psalms. So this is another one of my favorites verses where it says, verse 7, it says, the Torah, meaning the instructions of God. Always keep in mind the Torah. Whenever you hear Torah, this word, whenever you hear Torah, always equate that to being the instructions of God. Whenever you hear Torah, whenever you see Torah, always equate that to being the instructions of God. Those are the instructions of God. The Torah is instructions of God. Well, that's all that means. So the Torah of Yahuwah is perfect. The instructions of God is perfect, is what he's saying. Bringing back the being, bringing back the spirit, bringing back the spirit. That's the being. The witness of Yahuwah is trustworthy. The witness of Yahuwah is trustworthy. So one who witnesses the works of the Most High, seeing with spiritual eyes and hearing with spiritual ears, and understanding, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's the witness. And one who witnesses the Most High and his works in them and works through them is a trustworthy being. A witness of Yahuwah is trustworthy, making wise the simple. So this is one who was making wise the simple. Those who are simple-minded, this one who trusts in the Most High and has, is pretty much making them, making themselves living proof of his existence, is making wise of simple ones. Verse 8, the orders of Yahuwah are straight, rejoicing the heart. The orders of Yahuwah are straight, rejoicing the heart. So the orders, meaning the order of things, how things are, and also his spiritual laws of his spiritual government. This is what's making this is what makes everything straight. It says the orders of Yahuwah are straight, rejoicing the heart. Because it's like when things are going the way they should and everyone is treating each other with respect, this is ultimately what the laws, enforce, the spiritual laws enforce, and also laws of men. You're rejoicing in the heart because ain't nobody's bothering you and you have no reason to bother others. It says the command of Yahuwah is clear, enlightening the eyes. So the command of Yahuwah, meaning his instructions, his commandments, the commandments of God is clear. It's not that complicated. You have people that try to overcomplicate it, but it's not that complicated. We don't have to do much to read and understand the commandments of God. They're clear, enlightening the eyes. You will be enlightened by what it is that the Most High commands us, instructs us, and teaches us. Verse 9, the fear of Yahuwah is clean, standing forever. So the fear of Yahuwah is to hate evil. It's clean. So if you're hating evil, you're ultimately clean. You're making yourself clean when you hate evil. That's all you have to do. Whatever is evil, just hate it. You don't have to hate people. Hate the evil. Hate what they do. You don't have to hate a person. Hate what they do. You don't have to, you don't have to hate the person. Hate the evil. Whatever is evil, hate it. And this is the more you hate evil, the higher you make you give yourself chance to extend your stay in the spirit realm, to making it to the spiritual kingdom, and things to go well for you while you're here. And you got to live with your flesh. Your flesh is evil itself. I've learned to live with my flesh. I've learned to live with the evil in my flesh, the evil in my muscle memory, my flesh memory. I've learned to live with that. I learned to wield that and make a testimony out of it. That's the best you can do. But you have to hate the evil. That's what the fear of Yahuwah is, to hate evil. based on what we read, based on what is written in the book of Proverbs chapter 8. But this right here, what we're reading, is the book of Psalms chapter 19. And it says, the fear of Yahuwah is clean, standing forever. The right ruling of Yahuwah are true. They are righteous altogether. So the right ruling meaning fairness. You know, the fairness of Yah, the just of Yah, of the Most High, are true. They are righteous altogether. So, yeah, the Most High is always just. The Most High is always fair. And as much as we can, as much as we, sometimes struggle to understand why things happen to us, understand why we have to go through what we go through, the Most High is just in all that he does. He's just in all that he does. Everything happens for a reason. For lack of a better, statement, for lack of a better explanation, everything happens for a reason. So the right ruling of Yahuwah are true. They are righteous altogether, more desirable than gold, than much fine gold, and sweeter than honey and the honeycomb. Verse 11, also, your servant is warned by them. In guarding them, there is great reward. So, yeah, this is the list that we should go by. The Torah, this just broke down all that we need to keep top of mind, all that we need to keep in front of us, the guide that we need to live by, which is it says first on the list is the Torah, meaning the instructions of God. Next on the list is the witness, those who witness, those who are his students, who are students of his son, his meaning disciples of his son, taught ones of his sons, the teachings of his sons. These are the witnesses. These are the spiritual children of God. These are the disciples, the students of his only begotten son. These are the witnesses. Then you have the order. The order is the order of things, like, for example, the order of him being the supreme spirit, his son being being superior to everyone else, his only begotten son being superior to everyone else but inferior to him, his only begotten son. That's the order of things. And, and also his spiritual government, his spiritual government and the spiritual laws of his spiritual government. That's the order of things. Then you have the command, his command, meaning his instructions, his commandments, and also his laws. His spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we have to follow. Take heed to. That he spoke through his kings like David and Solomon. So those are his commands. Then you have the fear. The fear of Yah is to hate evil. So we got to keep in mind, you have to remember these things. The fear of Yah is to hate evil. The fear of Yah is to hate evil. Fear of God is to hate evil. So the more you hate evil, the more you demonstrate this fear of God. It's not about being afraid. It's about having integrity. That's what it's about. That's what this fear of God means, is to have integrity. And then you have the right ruling. Right ruling is the fairness. What is fair? Doing what is fair. Doing what is right. And it says, it says also your servants is warned by them. In guarding them, there is great reward. So in guarding all that we just went over brings great reward. Guarding his instructions, the Torah, guarding his witnesses, guarding and also his witnesses can be those of it, his prophets of old, those his kings of old. These are his witnesses. Guarding his order, understanding his order, guarding his commands, guarding the fear of him, and guarding his right ruling. This is what we have to keep an eye on. The Torah, his instructions, his witnesses, his servants from past and present, his order, his spiritual government, his spiritual laws, his commands, his instructions, his spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, the fear, which is the fear of him, hating evil, simply hating evil, and the right ruling, which is pretty much doing what you want to doing to others, what you want it done to you, and avoid not doing to others what you wouldn't want done to you. That's right ruling. And this, it says that, his servants guard this. In guarding them, there is great reward. There is great reward. This is no different than what his only begotten son told us in the book of Matthew. How there's great reward in doing, doing right. Doing right the way it was instructed in these writings to do what is right, not what we think is right, what the Most High think is right, and what his only begotten son explained to us what is right. Verse 12, who discerns mistakes? Who discerns mistakes? Declare me innocent from those that are secret. Verse 13, also keep your servant back from presumptuous ones. Do not let them rule over me. Then shall I be perfect and innocent of great transgression. So, yeah, he says, this is what we should be telling ourselves. This is what we should be asking the Most High to help us, it pretty much guard us from the presumptuous ones. The presumptuous ones, keep us, keep us clear from these folks. You know what I mean? And do not let them rule over. Do not let them rule over us. Then shall I be perfect and innocent of great transgression. This is all it's really the influence. It's the ancient knowledge of evil's influence that causes us to go astray, go down the wrong path, and be influenced by the wrong people. And if we could just avoid these folks who are under the strong influence of the ancient knowledge of evil, then just maybe we can show ourselves innocent of great transgression, like great transgression. If we can't be innocent of anything, we can be innocent of great transgression. And you have to know what great transgressions are. Verse 14, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing before you, O Yahuwah, my rock and my redeemer. So let the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be pleasing before Yahuwah. Chapter 20, verse 1. Yahuwah does answer you in the day of distress. Yahuwah does answer you in the day of distress. Yes, he does. Or if you truly take the initiative to strive to do your best to follow the instructions of God, to heed his knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that he spoke through his kings, to follow the examples of his only begotten Son and the demonstrations of his only begotten Son, then yes, he answers you in the day of distress. Does he? Yeah, I'm living proof of it. Hallelujah, hallelujah, praise Yah. I am living proof of these answers in the day of stress, in the day of distress. Yah knows. It says the name of Elohim of Jacob does set you on high. So the name of Yah, the name of God of Jacob, does set you on high. So yeah, his name, knowing his name, you know, knowing his name and honoring his name sets you on high, sets you apart, and puts you in a, sets you up in a good place in life. Verse 2, he does send you help from the set apart place and does uphold from Sion. So he sends you help. The Most High will send you help if only you acknowledge his name, acknowledge him, acknowledge his only begotten Son, not just face value, not just not this pretend worship or the pretend practice. Like literally believe what it is that you hear that's read from these scriptures. You have to really believe what you read and hear from these scriptures and have faith in it, trust in it, and make it your reality. Make it your identity. Verse 3, he does remember all your offerings and does accept your ascending offering. So excuse me. So he remembers all your offerings and accept your ascended offerings. Nowadays, those offerings are, are how you treat others. How you treat others. He's looking for you to do your deeds in secret towards towards his people, his needy, his less fortunate, those who are down bad. These are his modern day offerings. This is what he's looking for you to treat his people, you know, treat his people well, his less fortunate well. Do for the poor, the hungry, the sick in secret. Do for the poor, the hungry, and sick in secret. Do for the prisoner, the thirsty, the fatherless, the widows in secret. These are his modern day offerings. He does remember all your offerings and does accept your ascending offerings. Verse 4, he does give you according to your heart and fills all your plans. Yes, he does. When you show yourself to be one of his, when you show yourself to, don't, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. If you truly show yourself and with integrity, show yourself to have integrity, spiritual integrity, and spiritual loyalty to the Most High, and you show yourself to Him that your spiritual heart is in a place that it needs to be, which is Him, according to His instructions and according to His spiritual laws, according to His only begotten Son's lessons and teachings, according to the examples and demonstrations of his only begotten Son. When you show yourself dedicated to that in his eyes, not in the eyes of man, because they're gonna find something to identify in you, you know, that they either are guilty of themselves or, you know, just to make themselves feel better about what they're guilty of themselves. That's what folks do. They look to find company. They look to find, you know, yeah, you can find it in me. I'm going to, we all have flesh. As long as we're in these fleshly beings and bodies, we're going to show ourselves to be victimized by this ancient knowledge of evil. We're going to show ourselves to be corrupt by the ancient knowledge of evil. We're going to show our flesh is going to show itself to be compromised by the ancient knowledge of evil. So no one can get into talking this pure, clean, holy, you know, life, because as long as you're in this flesh, you're going to struggle with the flesh. The flesh is going to want, the flesh got wants. You know that the spirit has needs, the flesh has wants. The flesh wants to do this, say this, watch this, feel this. The flesh wants to do what is what is wicked, evil, and it wants to respond. You know, it wants to respond when it's someone hurts its feelings. When someone offends it. The flesh wants to lash out and say what's on their mind, what's on its mind. So yeah, you can. Yeah, I can identify all day. You can identify, you know, what you feel in me all day, because trust me, I know. You know, I know the works of the flesh. I am the works of the flesh. We all are the works of the flesh. We are all the works of the flesh. Ain't no getting around it. There's no getting around it. As long as we're in these fleshly bodies, we're going to struggle with them. We're going to struggle with them. And it's our duty as the spirits within to rule over these flesh, to not let it get out of line to where as though it's becoming a literal stumbling block to others. It's becoming a harm to others. You're verbally harming someone. You're physically harming someone. Verse, excuse me. Where are we? No, now I know that Yahuwah shall save his anointed. I feel like I skipped something. He does give you according to your heart. He does give you according to your heart and fills all your plans. That's where we left off at. This is the book of Psalms, by the way, chapter 20. And we just read verse 4. Verse 5. We sang of your deliverance, and in the name of our Elohim we set up a banner. In the name of God we set up a banner. Yahuwah does fill all your requests. Yes, he does. That he does. I don't know if you know by now. This is what the Most High does. This is what the Most High is capable of for his spiritual children, those who follow his son, the examples and demonstrations of his son. Verse 6, now I know that Yahuwah shall save his anointed. He answers him from his set-apart heavens with the saving might of his right hand. Verse 7, some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we remember the name of Yahuwah, our Elohim. You have most people trust in their military, trust in the military of their leader, trust in, science, trust in mechanics. This is what most people trust in. But those who are tapped in to their spirit within as being children, spiritual children of God, trust in the Most High in His name. Some trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but we remember the name of Yahuwah, our Elohim. Verse 8, they, they have bowed down and fallen, but we have risen and are established. Verse 9, save, Yahuwah, let the sovereign answer us in the day we call. Chapter 21, verse 1. The sovereign rejoices in your strength the sovereign rejoices in your strength, O Yahuwah, and how greatly he exults in your deliverance. Who can be a king without the Most High? Like honestly, whether they know it or accept it or not. Verse 2, you have given him the desire of his heart, and you have not withheld the request of his lips. Verse 2, verse 3, for you put before him the blessings of goodness. You set a crown of fine gold on his head. Verse 4, he asked life from you, and you gave it to him. Length of days forever and ever. Verse 5, through your deliverance, his esteem is great. You have laid excellency and splendor on him. Verse 6, for you have made him most blessed forever. You have made him glad with the joy of your presence. Verse 7, for the sovereign is trusting in Yahuwah, and though the loving commitment of the Most High, he is not moved. Excuse me. Verse 8, your hand reaches all your enemies. Your right hand reaches those who hate you. Those who hate the Most High. And most people be wondering why things be happening to them. And just forget how disrespectful and blasphemous they were towards the Most High. Verse 9, you make them as a furnace of fire in the time of your presence. Yahuwah does swallow them up in his wrath, and fire does consume them. Verse 10, you destroy their fruit from the earth, and their seed from among the sons of men. Verse 11, for they held out evil against you. They devised a plot. They do not prevail. These are what the rulers of the world, though, and the children of the world, the children of the enemy. This is what they do daily to figure out how to rebel against the Most High. Come up with ways to rebel against the Most High. Come up with ways to get the masses to rebel against the Most High. This is the goal of all those put in power by the enemy and the ancient knowledge of evil itself. Verse 12, for you make them turn their back when you aim with your bowstring towards their faces. Verse 13, be exalted, O Yahuwah, in your strength we sang and we praise your might. So in the strength of the Most High, we sang and praise. That's where we go. That's where we want to get to. That's the point we want to get to. We want to move on to the book of Proverbs Chapter 13. It's starting to get close to my bedtime. Not to mention I've been up 2 days straight with only 7 hours of sleep out of 24 hours. So forgive me if you find me yawning or dozing. I'm in bad shape when it comes to sleep. I can't wait to get to bed. Thank Yah for the Sabbath. Hallel Yah, praise Yah for the Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom for his peace. So we're in the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 1. A wise son accepts his father's discipline, but a scoffer shall not listen to rebuke. So a scoffer, a wise son, accepts his father's discipline, not only his earthly father, but the discipline of his spiritual father. When we find something happens in our lives, something that happens in our lives, something devastating that we went through, of gone through, he's he's yeah, we have to accept that discipline as him is what he's doing is just. What he's done to is just. So yeah, accept the discipline of our father, not just not just your earthly father, but your spiritual father. And you accept that discipline by accepting what happens to you in life. Learn from it. This is the importance of following his instructions so we don't find ourselves trying to call for him to get us out of things. We don't find ourselves trying to call for him to heal us from things and save us from things. If we just follow his instructions. It's not that simple though. We all struggle with it. So on one hand, the wise son accepts his father's discipline, but a scoffer, one who makes fun of others, shall not listen to rebuke. Shall not listen to correction. You can't correct someone who makes fun of others. It's a waste of time. Verse 2. From the fruit of the mouth from the fruit of the mouth a man eats the good, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence. So from the fruit of the mouth a man eats the good. All men, no matter what men or what kind of men they are, they all eat, they all have access to eat what is good. But on the other hand, it says, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence. That's what the treacherous, they desire to be violent, be argumentative, be, in odds with others. Verse 3, he who watches over his mouth guards his being, but he who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. So he who watches over his mouth guards his being. So if you watch over your mouth, you watch what you say, you guard your spirit. You watch what you say, you guard your spirit. And what I mean by watching what you say, watch the slander. Watch the slander. Watch the slander. That's how you watch what you say to guard your spirit. Watch the lying, the false witnessing. That's how you watch what you say to guard your spirit. Watch the finessing, the manipulating. That's how you watch what you say to guard your spirit. It's not about watching what you say in the English language that's known as a foul word. No. Watch what you say to others about others. And watch what you say and make sure it's true and not untrue. He who watches over his mouth guards his being, but he who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. So person that can't stop talking and just got to be talking and always talking and always telling people business, it's going to eventually lead to their ruin. Verse 4, the being of the lazy one craves but has not, while the being of the hard workers are enriched. So this is just telling us that, when you work hard and you work hard for something and you're a hard worker, you find yourself enriched eventually. But one who is lazy craves but has not. Has all the cravings but has not. Verse 4, a righteous one hates a lying word, but a wrong man is loathsome and comes to shame. So a righteous one who does what is right, one who follow the instructions of God, obey the commands of God. This is a righteous one. One who does that, keep an eye on that. This is what it says about you. It says, a righteous one hates a lying word. This is what a righteous one hates. Hates a lie. It doesn't hate the one who told it, hates the lie itself. This is what we have to make a habit of, is start hating the actions, hating what comes from these people. Not the people. Love the people, no matter what comes out of them. A righteous one hates a lying word, but a wrong one is loathsome and comes to shame. So the wrong one is loathsome and come to shame. Like, verse 6, righteousness watches over him who is perfect in the way. Perfect in the way is ruling over your flesh. This is how you hating evil, ruling over your flesh. Hating evil, ruling over your flesh. These are the main two keys to become righteous, become a spiritual child of God, become, this, to perfect this spirit within us. The way to do that is, you know, through our righteousness, through following his instructions. Verse, it says, righteousness, verse 6 again. Righteousness watches over him who is perfect in the way, but wrongness overthrows the sinner. Wrongness overthrows the sinner. The sinner is one who makes a habit out of sinning, doesn't have any intentions on stopping what they're doing, doesn't have any intentions on doing what is right, no matter who's looking or who's not looking in the flesh. Verse 7, there is one who makes himself rich, yet has none at all, and one who makes himself poor, yet has great riches. We see that to this day. People don't have this money, but yet you can see them on their social media sites flashing this and looking like this and looking like that, and, you know, trying to appear more what they have, trying to appear like they have more than what they actually have. There is one who makes him, I'm sorry. It says, there is one who makes himself rich, yet has none at all, and one who makes himself poor, yet has great riches. So, excuse me, y'all. Like I said, I need to catch up on sleep. Verse 8, the ransom of a man's life is his riches, but the poor does not hear rebuke. The ransom of a man's life is his riches. So I heard somebody bring this up about how the ransom of a man's, they was bringing up, the benefits of riches and money, and this is the verse that they pulled. So what this means is basically, yeah, you can buy people with money because people are able to be bribed. You can buy justice. You can buy, you know, whatever it is that people are willing to sell. And this is obvious. It doesn't make any, money good. It's money you it's what you do with money. It's not, and it's not you about saving a boatload, buku amount of money. It's not about that. It's about investing in his people, investing in his people. This is what this is what money is for. Where are we? It says the ransom of a man's life is his riches, but the poor does not hear rebuke. Verse 9, the light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wrong is put out. Verse 10, the pride comes only by pride comes only strife. By wisdom is with those who take advice. So those who take advice, this is the truly wise folks. And it's like you can take advice without someone saying a word, just learning, just watching and observing. Verse 11, wealth from vanity diminishes, but he who gathers by hand increases. So this wealth by, vanity is like chasing your fleshly, chasing the fulfillment of your flesh, chasing the, it's a lot of categories, people can find themselves being placed in. But, wealth from vanity diminishes. Like if you just selfish and thinking about your own way and thinking about your own needs and thinking about yourself. This is what this is. This says wealth from vanity diminishes. That doesn't last long. Money from vanity is not something that sticks around. But he who gathers by hand increases. So when you find yourself gathering by hand, working with your hands, working in the field with your working, any kind of farming and any kind of cropping and with your hands, working with your hands, you find yourself with an increase. Find yourself with an increase. Verse 12, expectancy drawn out makes the heart sick, but a longing come true is a tree of life. So, the expectancy, waiting on something. You may be waiting on a check. You may be waiting on something you ordered. You may be waiting on something you ordered in the mail. You may be waiting on all this, but it says expectancy drawn out makes the heart sick, to the point you've been waiting so long. It's like you're sick of it. You're sick of it, meaning it's not to say that you find yourself literally sick, but you become sick of the wait around. But a longing come true is a tree of life. So when it's sickening to wait, but on the other hand, when it comes about, when things happen your way, and when things finally come to to tuition, it's what it's equivalent to is a tree of life. Verse 13, he who despises the word is destroyed, but he who fears the command is rewarded. So when you fear the command, meaning you hate evil and make yourself, show yourself to demonstrate integrity, as far as it says, he who despises the word is destroyed. So if you find yourself despising the word of God, you'll find yourself destroyed. And this is, you have a lot of people trying to dismiss the instructions of God, trying to dismiss the spiritual laws of God, trying to dismiss all that, you know, makes this walk a rock, makes this assembly of his a rock. If your house is built on sand, it's going to sink. It has to be on something solid, which is the instructions of God. And it says, but he who fears the command is rewarded. Verse 14. The Torah of the wise is a fountain of life, turning one away from the snares of death. So it says, I'm going to read it again. The Torah of the wise is a fountain of life. So the instructions of the wise is a fountain of life, turning one away from the snares of death. So the instructions of God is the same sense. It's a fountain of life, turning one away from the snares of death. When you see danger ahead, let someone know. When you see that they're dealing with someone that, you know, that's dangerous, let them know, and let them do what they will with that information. Verse 15. Good understanding gains favor, but the way of the distress is hard. Good understanding gains favor. When you have good understanding of something, it gains favor. This is what gains favor in others. People love to know or want to meet someone who is loyal, someone who is, have integrity, someone who has spiritual knowledge, wisdom, understanding. But the way of the treacherous is hard. The way of the treacherous is a tough life that they'll never admit to, and also the way of the treacherous is hard because it leads to their imprisonment and being put away. Verse 16, everyone with insight acts with knowledge. Everyone with insight acts with knowledge. But a fool speaks folly. This is just a clear example that everyone can have this intuition. It is activated through long periods of obedience, long periods of following instructions, following the examples and demonstrations of his only begotten Son, and following the spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and the demonstrations and examples of his only begotten Son, and the spiritual knowledge and understanding that he spoke to his kings. Where are we? Good understanding gains favor, but the way of the treacherous is hard. Verse 16, everyone with insight acts with knowledge, but a fool speaks out folly. Verse 17, a messenger that is wrong falls into evil, but a trustworthy envoy is a healing. Yeah, so those who, it says, a messenger that is wrong falls into evil. So one who is wrong, period, finds themselves falling into evil. Finds themselves falling into evil. But a trustworthy envoy is a healing. Verse 18, poverty and shame are for him who ignores discipline. So but he who heeds reproof is esteemed. So he who heeds reproof is esteemed. It finds glory. There is glory in heeding the corrections of God. Whenever it is that He strikes in your life, strikes around you in your life, it's blessings coming with the acceptance of His strikings, with the acceptance of His discipline, with the acceptance of His spiritual spankings. Verse 19. A desire accomplished is sweet to the being, but to turn away from evil is an abomination to fools. To turn away from evil is an abomination to fools. They can't bring themselves to stop doing what it is that their flesh loves to do. Stop being a slave to the flesh. They can't bring themselves to be that. To be that or do that. So a desire accomplished is sweet in the being, but to turn away from evil is an abomination to fools. Verse 20, he who walks with the wise shall be wise, but the companion of fools suffers evil. When you got people who are foolish, hot-tempered around you, um, undisciplined, they want to drink, smoke, and whatever else all day. Yeah, this is these are the folks. We just want to stay out of their way. Evil pursues, says, he who walks with the wise shall be wise. So surround yourself with wise people. Walk with the wise. You know someone to be wise, get to know them more, get to know them better. You know, me myself included. And I'm talking about spiritual wisdom, not just any wisdom. Because everybody want to take you in with their worldly wisdom. I'm talking about spiritual wisdom. Verse 21, evil pursues sinners, but good is repaid to the righteous. Good is repaid to the righteous. So the righteous are paid for what it is that they do that is, you know, obedient in the eyes of the Most High. Verse 21, evil pursues sinners, but God is repaid to the righteous. Verse 22, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. The wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. This is the pattern of life. This is what eventually leads to, you know, sinners having all this money till it's their turn to, you know, to go away, and they leave it all behind to those who follow the instructions of God. Eventually, it may not go there immediately. It might not find its way back to the righteous, you know, overnight, but eventually that's where it's going to lead, that's where it's going to go. Where are we? good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. So a good man, what a good man does, leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That's the whole goal as a parent. That's the whole goal as a father. If that's not it, then what are we doing? What are you doing? What are we doing? So a good man leaves an inheritance. An inheritance is most likely, you know, good investments. We want to leave good investments to our children. But the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. Verse 23. Much food is in the tillable ground of the poor, but lack of right ruling sweeps it away. So much food is in the tillable ground of the poor, but the lack of right ruling sweeps it away. The lack of right ruling is what is fair. And this is what we see all over the world, people trying to regulate what you can grow, regulate what you can have out of the ground, regulate what you can have out of the seas, out of the skies, out of the water. Like, people are really, you have people are put in position to pretty much, you know, keep us from doing all that, to oppress us from having access to what it is that we need access, like food. Verse 24, he who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him seeks him with discipline. So you have to seek your son with discipline as the end goal. You have to first love them when they're too small to be instructed. Instruct them in order for they to know what to follow when they go on their way in the direction that you send them. Show them direction where it is that you're sending them and where they need to go, and then correction whenever it is they, find themselves not following instructions. You have to correct them, show them where they were wrong. But then after the correction, which is, your verbal warning, then there's discipline. Discipline should always be the last, resort. Like, verse 25, the righteous eats to the satisfying of his being, but the stomach of the wrong is lacking. Stomach of the wrong is lacking, y'all. No food. When you do people wrong, no food. When you do what is wrong, no food. When you say what is wrong to others, no food. Literally starving yourself when you do people wrong. Literally starving yourself when you do what is wrong. That's just the reality of it. That was the book of Proverbs, chapter 13. Let's get into the book of Ecclesiastes. Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2, verse 1. I said in my heart, come now, let me try you with rejoicing and find out what is good. But see, that too was futile. So he speaks. This is Solomon describing how he put his mind to all that is foolish, all that was, there to put his mind to, and it was, and how he came away. He's basically explaining through this whole book of Ecclesiastes how spirit pursuit of the spirit and the spiritual things is better than the pursuit of fleshly matters. It says, but see, that too is futile. Verse 2, I said of laughter, It is madness and a rejoicing, but what does it do? Like, what is this laughing? What am I laughing for? Just to cry later. Yeah, he was having it rough. He was having it rough, and I can relate. Verse 3. I searched in my heart how to stimulate my body with wine while guiding my heart with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly until I could see what was good for the sons of men to do under the sun, do under the heavens, all the days of their lives. So he had to get drunk. He had to get drunk. It says, for him to understand, you know. So he was drinking wine, and he had to understand what there was good. Good, what is good for any man to do in the days of their lives. Verse 4. I made my works. I built myself houses. I planted. He said, I planted vineyard for myself. So he's pretty much he's pretty much built for himself what most believe, today would be like a carnival around around his place, and a water park, or a roller coaster amusement park. But this is what he sought out. He sought all of this out, and this is what he came away with. Verse 5. I made gardens and parks for myself, and I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. There go that park, building a park for themselves, and how he planted all kinds of fruit seeds, planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. Y'all willing, we all come to the knowledge of planting and being able to do this. But this is what Solomon is expressing, how, life is, life is rougher in the pursuit of the flesh. And it all leads to nothing if you're not doing the work of the Spirit. He said, I made pools of water for myself. So water from them, a plantation of growing trees. Verse 7. I bought male and female servants, and I came to have sons of the household. Also, I had greater possessions of herds and flocks than all who were before me in Jerusalem. So he's explaining how he has more possessions than anyone that was before him in Jerusalem. Verse 8. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and treasures and sovereigns and of provinces. I provided male and female singers for myself, and the messengers of and the messengers I'm sorry. I provided male and female singers for myself, and the pleasures of men, a woman and a woman. So yeah, he had the parties before the celebrities were throwing the parties. I don't know what was going on in these parties, but Solomon was pretty much putting to the test all that man can do, since he had the means to do it. So he was putting it to the test of what it is that, what all the things that a man can have the power to, a man who is wealthy can have the power to do. That was parties. That included parties, building pools, and all this stuff. having wives, and yeah, he was just trying to figure it out and make life worth it. And he realized, it's like, man, the only life worth living is through the spirit. As far as like you have to, yes, enjoy yourself. Never be overly wicked or too righteous. Wait, never be overly righteous, and so meaning like we're going to read that in one of these chapters. I know I read it in Ecclesiastes, but I know it says something about try not to be too righteous. Like verse 8, I also gathered for myself silver and gold and treasures of sovereigns and of the provinces. I provided male and female singers for myself, and the pleasures of men, a woman and a woman. Verse 9, thus I became great and increased more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained within me. So throughout all this partying, all this building, all this mess that he was getting himself into intentionally to just live, try to, make sense of living, he held on to his wisdom. He held on to his wisdom. It says, thus I became great and increased more than all who were before me. You're in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. So his wisdom remained with him, you know, after all that he sought out. Verse 10, all that my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I did not withhold my heart from any attention, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion from all my labor. Verse 11, but when I looked up in all the words that my hand had done, and on the labor in which I had toiled, see, all was futile and feeding on wind, and there was no gain under the sun. Literally. Verse 12. And I turned myself to look at women in madness. I'm sorry. And I turned myself to look at wisdom and madness and folly. For what would the man do who comes after the sovereign, except what already has been done? So what will people come along? How can people come along and talk about things that just very well been done already? Verse 13, then I saw that wisdom is better than folly, as a light is better than darkness. All the time. This is when he discovered that, the spirit was better than the flesh. Flesh is in the darkness. Spirit is in the light. So it is the breath of life spirit within and doing the work of the harvest. You know, first of all, treating others how you would want to be treated. And in doing so, sharing the lessons and teachings of the only begotten Son and following the demonstrations and examples of the only begotten Son and teaching them. But this is before the time of the Messiah, so Solomon, was just dealing with this in real time. Verse 14, the wise one's eyes are in his head, but the fool's walks in darkness. And I also knew that one event befalls them all. Verse 15, and I said in my heart, as the event of the fool, even so it befall me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart, this also is futile. So he's like, why am I being more wise? Why that I've been more wise and I could suffer the same fate as the one who isn't wise. I could suffer the same fate, meet the same fate of the one who isn't wise. Verse 18, and I hated all my labor in which I had toiled under the sun, because I leave it to a man who would come after me. Verse 19, and who knows whether he is wise or foolish, yet he shall rule over all my labor in which I toiled, and in which have shown myself wise under the sun. That too is futile. So he's like working on all this and that all your life, and not to know that if you're leaving your the benefits of the fruits of your benefits to someone that is has the who bears good fruit. You don't know that you don't know. You know you don't know if you're leaving that behind to someone who is good, and that was the concerns of Solomon. He didn't know that if he was leaving his what was good to his sons, and if they were going to be good good kings, good dudes, good people. And he felt like that was futile, feeding on wind. Verse 18, and I hated all the labor in which I had toiled under the sun, because I leave it to a man who would come after me. Verse 19, and who knows whether he is wise or foolish, yet he shall rule over all my labor in which I toiled, and in which I have shown myself wise under the sun. That too is futile. Verse 20, so I turned my heart and despaired of all the labor in which I had toiled under the sun. Verse 21, for a man might labor with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, yet he leaves his heritage to a man who has not labored for it. That too is futile and a great evil. Verse 22, for what does a man get for all his labor and strain of his heart, with which he has toiled under the sun? He's like trying to figure out, what does a man get for all of that? What does a man get for all of that? And it's like, yeah, you 6 days you labor and your seventh you rest, but what does a man get for doing more than that, doing more work than that, overworking themselves according to his flesh and what is built for the flesh, what is made for the flesh, and what is made by the flesh? Is it worth it? Is it worth it really? Verse 23, for all, because the only thing that's worth it is to make it in this kingdom. So you want to do the work to make it to the kingdom. That's the only work that's worth doing. That's the only work that's worth laboring for, is the work of the harvest in order to make it into the kingdom. And the work of the harvest requires us to follow instructions, which is labor 6 days, the seventh we rest, treat others with respect, and treat the Most High with respect. And also, it requires us to follow the demonstrations and examples of the only begotten Son, follow the lessons and the teachings of his only begotten Son, and treat others how you would want to be treated, but also do for those in need. That's what it requires. This is the work. Doing for those in need in secret, though. That's the work. What else? And making disciples, which is students, which is taught ones, making students out of the nations, making disciples out of the nations, using the teachings of the only begotten Son, using the teachings and the lessons of the only begotten Son, using his demonstrations and examples. This is the work. That's the only work that's worth doing, because that's what gets you into the kingdom. That's what gets you in. That's what makes you a spiritual child of God. is, doing his work, and part of doing his work, you're actually demonstrating his work. It's not just doing his work, teaching others this. You have to demonstrate this as well. Demonstrate yourself to be forgiving. Demonstrate yourself to be, have mercy and have compassion. Demonstrate yourself to be humble, a peacemaker. Demonstrate yourself to be obedient, you know, for all his for all his days are suffering and his work grievous. Even in the night his heart takes no rest. That too is futile. Speaking on someone that labors, it lives life to labor. It's more than life than that. Verse 24, a man could do no better but to eat and drink and enjoy himself in his labor. That too I saw was from the hand of Elohim. So all of what he's seen was futile, futile, futile. This is what he could agree on. This is what he found to be from the hand of God and not futile, not meaningless. It's as far as what you can do in the flesh that's meaningful. I mean that's not futile and that's from the hand of God himself. Is to eat and drink and enjoy what you do as far as like for work. Enjoy what you do for the work. That's your goal, to eventually find something you love to do and make it your job. Make it your job. So if it's something that you love to do, make it your job. You have to love what you do. You have to. You have to find something you love to do and it to be for it to also be your I don't know why I'm so tired and I gotta lost the word, but it also be your occupation. That's the word I'm looking for. You want to find something you love to do and for it to be your occupation, yo. That's the goal of all on this earth. If that's not the goal, it's a rough life. You have to do what you have to do in order to do what you love to do. Do what you have to do for others, you have to do it for until you can do what you love to do. But the goal has to always be to get to where you are doing what you love to do as an occupation. And that was the takeaway of Solomon. Like, a man could do no better but to eat and drink and enjoy himself in his labor. So, enjoying yourself in your labor, you have to love what you're doing. You have to love what you do for work. You have to love your occupation. That too I saw was from the hand of Elohim, the hand of God. Verse 25, for who eats or it says, for who eats or who finds enjoyment without him? Who eats or finds enjoyment without the Most High? Really? Who gets to eat or find any joy in his life without the Most High? All of that is from him. You might call fake joy in doing and getting intoxicated in something. That's a false sense of joy. When you find yourself, I'm talking about where you can experience true joy without being under the influence of anything. And you could do that by you experience that when you're eating something really good, really delicious, really nutritious. I'm not talking about something that's fake nutritious and fake good for you. You find joy in eating something very nutritious and delicious. And you also find, joy in, just experiencing life, your occupation, what you love to do. If you're fine, if you're doing what you love to do and you're getting paid for what you love to do, that's joy, man. That's all from the Most High. That's a blessing. 'Cause most people are doing what they do not like to do for work. Most people are doing what they can't stand to do. They don't love to do. They don't enjoy doing. Verse 26, for he gives wisdom and knowledge and joy to a man who is good in his eyes. But to the sinner, he gives the task of gathering and collecting, to give to him who is good before Elohim. That too is futile and feeding on wind. So, yes, this is what those who are working tirelessly in the flesh, like, and all about the flesh. It's one thing you be all of, you're all about the God, all about God and His instructions, and all about God and His, only begotten Son, and you're finding yourself working. But you have those who are no concern with God, no regard of God, no, you know no acknowledging God at all, and they're chasing this money, they're chasing this money, they're chasing this money. All of that, this is the task that they're given because of their sin. They're sinners, or they're unclean, or they're unbelievers, and so they don't see sin for sin. They see sin as normal. So that's what makes them sinners, and what they do, the task they're given is to gather and collect, gather and collect, gather and collect, and then so ultimately all that what they've gathered and collected lands in the hands of those who are obedient, those who follow the instructions of God, those who follow the lessons and the teachings of God. I mean, the lessons and the teachings of His only begotten Son, and the examples and demonstrations of His only begotten Son. That was the end of chapter 2. I'm gonna bless us out, man, and get some sleep. I'm sorry. I'm so backed up. I'm so behind on sleep from messing around with the worldly labor for working. I'm going to catch up on the sleep and pick up tomorrow in Genesis, Yah willing, tomorrow morning. I'm gonna pick up in Genesis, pick up in Genesis, move on to Isaiah, and then Yah willing, get to Yah willing, I'm able to get to the teachings, demonstrations of only begotten Son in the book of Matthew. But for tonight, I'm gonna have to get some shut eye, because yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm struggling. So I'm gonna bless this out. I'm gonna start blessing this out. Like I ask the Mashiach for help, but we just going to go with the blessings because He's helped us. I'm sure if I could say that He's helped me, I got an idea He's helped you with something. Those who are watching now, He's helped you with something. There's something to be thankful of that was a blessing today or a blessing this week. If not, here's your blessing. This blessing is according to the book of Numbers, the blessing that was given to Moses to bless the people. And in the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 23 to 26. May Yahuwah bless you and guard you. May Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. May Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Peace, love, Shabbat Shalom, peace and love. Y'all willing, we able to do this tomorrow, pick it back up. Until then, Shabbat Shalom.